Hei alle sammen, og hjertelig velkommen til dagens webinar. Først vil jeg takke dere for at dere har tatt dere tid til å være med oss i dag. Vi setter stor pris på interessen, og vi gleder oss til å komme i gang. Så la meg starte med agendaen for dagens webinar. Vi skal først ha en kort introduksjon av Alcadon og Legrand. Deretter skal vi se litt nærmere på hvordan du kan maksimere verdien ut av PDU-ene i et datasenter eller datarommet. Og videre skal vi gå gjennom hvordan du velger riktig løsning basert på krav til oppetid, sikkerhet og skalerbarhet. Og som alltid så vil jeg oppfordre dere til å stille spørsmål underveis. Bruk gjerne chatten, og så tar vi spørsmålene på slutten av webinaret. Så jeg håper dere gjør det. Mitt navn Vegard Strømme, og jeg jobber som forretningsutvikler på løsningssalg datasenter i Alcadon. Og med meg i dag så har jeg Paul Bekema fra Legrand, som har over 20 års erfaring i bransjen, og som kommer til å holde dagens webinar og dele sine erfaringer og kompetanse rundt Raritans PDU-løsninger. Men før vi starter så skal jeg si noen få ord om Alcadon, for dere som kanskje ikke kjenner oss så godt. Alcadon leverer infrastruktur til datasentre og kritiske IT-miljøer med fokus på kvalitet, tilgjengelighet og skalerbarhet. Vi har kontorer i store deler av Europa og leverer løsninger blant annet innen rack, kabinetter, kabling, kjøling, test, strukturert kabling og alt annet innen IT-infrastruktur. Og vi samarbeider med flere verdensledende produsenter, inkludert Legrand og deres merkevarer, blant annet Raritan, som dagens tema på dette webinaret. So that was a short, brief introduction to Alcadon. Now we will switch to English. Paul, the stage is yours, so please take it away. Thank you.
Yeah, hello, good morning, and welcome again to this webinar organized by Alcadon. Let me introduce myself. My name is Paul Bekema. I'm officially a sales engineer for Legrand, specialized in PDUs and KVM switches. Raritan is a manufacturer of KVM switches, and we also make intelligent PDUs. I'm more a consultant, product specialist, helping customers to find the right solutions. My responsible region is the Nordics and the Baltic countries, also the Netherlands, Belgium and Luxembourg, so the Benelux. I'm based in the Netherlands. Our European warehouse of the Raritan PDUs is also in the Netherlands. Okay, just a poll question to start with. I want to know from you all guys, if you ever did hear about Raritan. Is Raritan a new name for you? Is it familiar? You can now put your answers in the poll. Let's take a look if there are any responses yet. I don't see any responses. By the way, if you have questions, please put the questions in the chat and we will answer the questions at the end. Okay, I see that almost 50% knows about Raritan PDUs. That's good, but also 50% has never heard about Raritan PDUs. So, okay, there's something that we can teach you today. That's good. Okay, today I'm going to talk about basic PDUs, intelligent PDUs. Not basic PDUs. We see in data centers that people are not investing their money anymore in basic PDUs. They are investing their money in intelligent PDUs. Intelligent PDUs give you measurements, give you data, where you can better manage your data center. You see in this Omdia chart that the market of intelligent PDUs is going down. And you see that the market for intelligent PDUs is going up. So we see that companies nowadays are investing their money more and more in intelligent PDUs. Why are they using these solutions nowadays? Is simply they want to know what's going on in the data center. They want to know about power, capacity, and provisioning. So how much power do I use? How much power is a maximum capacity, and how much do I left to add more service into my rack? Energy management is always about the energy consumption, lowering the energy consumption in data centers. I will get back to this. More and more important is also environmental management. Measuring temperatures in data centers getting more and more important. I will explain later in this session. Also keeping up with the new regulations, new standards in the European market. We have to report more and more to the government what we are doing with our energy. Those 4 points are what we call the general pain points in data centers. We have a specific expertise in some additional points which we call the power quality. We can see with our PDUs what the power quality in your data center is. How more equipment I'm going to connect to my power infrastructure, how more my nice clean sine wave coming from my UPS gets disturbed. And we can actually measure and visualize the disturbance of the sine wave. And this is one of the things that we can do with our PDUs. And next to this, and this is an ongoing story always, physical, but more important, network security. You don't want hackers to get into your PDU. That's why you need a very good protection on your PDUs, that nobody can gets on your PDU and tries to switch on and off computer equipment. So we have specific expertise in the last 2 points, power quality and physical and network security, which I will explain later today. So again, people are not spending the money into basic PDUs because then you don't have any data, any information, you're totally blind. And if you have a power issue, you don't know where it's coming from. So that's why data centers are now investing in intelligent PDUs. When you talk about intelligent PDUs, it's most of the time metering. And when we talk about metering, there are a few levels where you can measure the power consumption. First of all, you can measure the power consumption on the inlet level. That means that you can see the total power consumption of all connected computers. This gives you basic information what's happening at the rack level. However, you can also use a PDU that has outlet level metering. And our recommendation is that you use outlet metering because then you can see the power consumption of every server that is connected. And this gives you a lot of detailed information on what the servers are doing. If you buy a PDU, be aware that some PDUs have a circuit breaker. And circuit breakers need to be monitored also. If you don't monitor the circuit breakers, you are missing part of the information and you can still have an issue without knowing it. So measuring on inlet level, outlet level, circuit breaker level. That's important. Let's talk about temperatures. To save energy, to save money, companies are starting to higher the temperature, the cooling inlet air temperature of the servers is rising. Just to give you an example, if I higher my temperature from 25 degrees to 26 degrees Celsius in my data center, that's about 2 Fahrenheit, I can save on the cooling almost 10% of my total data center cost. Just by lowering, hiring the temperature, the energy consumption of my air conditioning will drop. So warm is the new cool, I would say. In the past, cooling temperatures for servers, let's say the inlet temperatures were somewhere between 20 and 24 degrees. Now we are moving more and more to the maximum, and the maximum is defined by the ASHRAE standard, which is 27 degrees Celsius. So we are moving more and more to this 27 degrees just to save money and make your data center more efficient. Of course, it's important to measure the temperature then also, and the ASHRAE is also giving a recommendation to measure the temperature on the bottom, in the middle, and in the top of the rack. And this can be done on the cold side to measure the cold air temperature. It can also be done on the other side, on the hot side of the rack. So it gives you a very good indication of the inlet temperature and the temperature at the back of the rack. Just to make a few examples, Google is moving up the temperature to 27 degrees in the data centers. Equinix is doing the same, and also Microsoft is doing the same. They are more and more moving into the 27 degrees maximum ASHRAE limit just to save energy. Of course, you need sensors for this. We have more sensors than only temperature. We also do humidity, contact closure, water leakage, motion detection, air movement. We have a lot of sensors that we can connect to our PDU. We have for this a sensor port. You can see in the picture a yellow and red warning. We can set threshold warning levels, so-called yellow and red, or non-critical and critical warning levels, which you can see in the GUI, but you can also see it on our PDU controller with the same yellow and red colors. On the bottom, you see a blue chart, and our PDU is capable of storing historical data also. If I, for example, set a sample rate of 1 minute, I can save measurements for more than a few hours on our PDU, but it depends on the PDU model. It depends also on how many sensors I have connected to the PDU. Again, we can connect up to 32 sensors to our sensor port on the PDU. Then the taxonomy regulations, I think they started in 2024, and this is a requirement for specific companies within Europe that they have to report the power consumption and also take measures to lower the power consumption. In this taxonomy regulation, there is also a list of what companies should do, in this case, what data centers should do. And you can also voluntarily base join this green bond, this organization. The recommendations are on the left side in this slide. On the right side is actually the answer. Report on power usage and inlet temperature of IT equipment. For this, you need outlet metered PDUs. Optimize software running on service. For this, you better use a outlet metered PDU so that you can see the power consumption of the server. Decommission and remove unused equipment, of course. Consolidate services that don't achieve high utilization. Put the application on a virtual platform, for example, and remove the old server. Shut down and consider removing idle equipment. Okay, you can see which equipment is in use, which equipment is not in use by measuring on the outlet level. Identify that has increased energy consumption due to the trend of increasing operational temperatures. Has to do with temperatures, of course, in combination with the power consumption. Switch off unused equipment. For that, you need outlet metering. And, of course, measure the air supply and air temperatures. And for this, you should use a PDU with sensors. So our conclusion is to comply to this taxonomy. The data centers need to have outlet metered PDUs with outlet switching, with the sensors connected, at least for temperature. What we see in the market, this Omdia chart is showing also the same trend, that we are seeing the fastest growing market in the intelligent PDU business in this segment, outlet metered, outlet switched PDUs. It's up to 13 to 40% that we see this market. Okay, another poll question. Which customer needs do you most often see in your PDU projects? And for this, I need to put on my glasses, sorry. Increased uptime, better monitoring, reliable data, lowering energy cost, more control remotely, easier scalability, reliability, security, or I don't know. I see that people are already responding in the poll. That's good. Okay, that's a good response. Thank you for answering the poll. Okay, you did see this chart before, where we said that the 4 basic points are all data center concerns, and that we are specialized in the last 2 points, in the power quality measurement and in the physical and network security. And for that, we can offer you 2 brands of PDUs, Raritan and Xerus. Raritan started in the US as a PDU company, a little bit late. Also Xerus started in the US, but they started earlier making PDUs. Xerus is more popular when you take a look into the big tech companies like the Microsoft and the Googles. They know all Raritan, they all know Xerus PDUs. What we see in Europe is that Raritan is more popular. But in total, when we take the market share of all brands together, we own a market share of more than 30% for our PDUs globally. That means globally, 1 of the 3 data centers is using either a Raritan or a Xerus PDU. Why are companies using our PDUs? Why are they using outlet metered, outlet switched PDUs? Because they need to earn money. And an outage in the power infrastructure means that you have a big problem, so they want to prevent this. A problem in the power infrastructure means often downtime. And if you can prevent downtime, you are earning a lot of money. Actually, you are saving a lot of money. Just to give you 2 examples, Meta had an outage in 2021, and that costed them about 60 million. But also think about the reputational damage. It's always in the news when Meta, Facebook has an issue with the data centers. And it's bad for their reputation. Amazon is selling products, and they did a calculation that they are earning $9 million per second on transactions. And we calculated if they have a downtime of 1 hour, they are losing about 35 million on business. So for them, monitoring the power infrastructure is really, really important. Okay, what we do on power quality measurement on our PDUs is that, first of all, we increased our measurement accuracy to 0.5% off. And that's the most accurate currently in the market. That's also not the market standard. Market standard says that you need to be 1% off to be able to bill customers. We say simply we are 0.5%. We are more accurate with our measurements than the market is asking for. And that means that our data that we read from our PDUs is reliable, very reliable data. Then we have started measuring the power consumption, the voltage and the amps, but also the harmonics on the neutral wire, specifically on 3-phase power distribution. It's very important to monitor the neutral wire, because the neutral wire normally in a data center is not protected. You are protecting your phase wires, but you're not protecting your neutral wires. So there can be a dangerous load on a neutral wire, causing a serious problem in the data center. So we can measure the voltage, the amps, but also the harmonics going over this neutral wire. Then harmonic distortion, if that's actually a reflection caused by connecting a server, destroying your sine wave. If I connect just 1 computer, to my power infrastructure, my sine wave gets disturbed just a little bit. As you see in the picture, we can visualize the sine wave also. If I'm connecting more computers, the disturbance of my sine wave gets bigger and bigger and bigger to a certain point where my power quality is simply not reliable anymore. We can measure the harmonics, we can visualize the harmonics, so we can see how good or how bad the quality of your power is. We can see how much your sine wave gets damaged. Other things that we measure is we can measure inrush currents. If I switch on a PC, it always has an inrush current peak, a starting peak current, which can be very high. We can measure that inrush current peak. Crest factor, you may forget about this. This is an American term. It also tells you how your sine wave looks like. If it's a nice, clean sine wave or a disturbed sine wave. But it's not used in Europe, to be honest, crest factor. At least I never hear in Europe about crest factor. Dips and swells are variations in the power, sudden variations in the power that you can have. We also monitor that, and we can also give you alarms when there is a sudden dip or swell in the power. What we also can do is that we can monitor short circuits. Outlet metered PDUs are metering at the outlet level. If I have a power supply of a server failing, it can cause a short circuit. Our PDU can detect that and can switch off the outlet. And it can also prevent that your outlet gets switched on again before the issue has been solved. So if you have the short circuit, it is detected. It's shown on the GUI, it's shown on our controller. And it is also, when you have an outlet switch PDUs, switching off that outlet just to prevent bigger damage. Then you send the technician to the rack because you have received a warning message. Then the technician repairs the short circuit or disconnects the server, and then you can safely switch on the outlet again and go further with your daily business. So this is something that we call the circuit breaker trip forensics feature in our PDUs. This is all in our firmware. In our firmware built in, we started the Xerus-firmware stack in 2008 in Germany. To be honest, our engineers are coming from Germany. Our team is also expanding, and the Xerus firmware is developed and getting better every day by our engineers. In 2020, the Xerus controller technology, firmware technology, was also implemented on ServerTech. And later on, we also decided to put this firmware stack, the Xerus firmware stack, also on other Legrand devices. So again, the Xerus firmware stack is the heart of our PDUs. There is a continuous team working on the development and improvement and creating new features for this firmware. And it's running on our IX controller, on our PDUs, on Raritan PDUs, but also on ServerTech PDUs. We do also VAPT testing, vulnerability assessment penetration testing. We don't do this ourselves. We hire external companies that do these tests for us. So they are checking the safety of our PDUs. They are using existing technologies to try to get into our PDUs, test on vulnerabilities, test on security holes. And if they don't find any security issues, you will get a certification from the company that they say, okay, your PDU is safe. And this VAPT testing is a continuously going on story. So with every new hardware and firmware development, we will redo this test to be sure that our PDUs stay safe. Also, we are the first company that is adding a secure element to our PDU controller. This is coming from the smartphone business, smartphone technology, and this is a specific chip on our controller. This specific chip is storing all secure information, like the keys, the encryption keys, and also passwords are stored in this specific chip. And this chip is protected and not accessible from the outside. So we are the first company in the world that have this secure element built in to our PDUs. Some additional features on our PDUs. The latest generation PDUs have a universal outlet. We call this the CX outlets. And this CX outlet is compatible with the normal C13 outlet standard and the heavy-duty C19 outlet standard. So it combines two different outlets. So if you grow with your data center and you are using normal service now, you can still use the same outlet for your normal service and connect it as a C13. But if you, in a few years, decide to buy a heavy-duty server with a C19 connector, you can still use the same PDU with the same outlet because the outlet on the PDU is compatible with the old server standard and the new server standard. Also, we have introduced Ramlock. Ramlock is a universal locking system that works with all C19 and C13, in this case C14 and C20 power cords. It's a handle on the side of the outlet which you have to push to release the power cord. This is just a standard C30 connector. I put it in the outlet. I cannot take it out unless I push this handle, and then I can take out the cable. One of the biggest issues in data centers is that people get loose, cables get loose, and this is holding the cable into its position. And we call this Ramlock. Another additional feature is that we see more and more usage of coloring. In modern data centers, the power infrastructure is redundant. So there are two power cords going into the rack. There are two PDUs in the rack. And most of the time, the PDUs are identified with a specific color. The coloring can be in two ways. Either we paint the chassis in a specific color. This is a special paint job that we need to do in our factory. That means always a longer delivery time. The alternative is just buy a standard black PDU, which we have in our warehouse in the Netherlands, and order the free label kits, which you can see in the picture. And that way you can also create a color identification onto the PDU. Talking about another security feature is the electronic door handles. We see this more and more that people are going to protect the rack with electronic door handles. This of course creates additional security, but even better, it creates the possibility to create a access log file who has access to a specific rack. So every user has a card with an ID, and you can see who tried or who opened a specific rack door at what time, at what day, and how long. This is also something new that we are doing. This is what we call the universal input PDU. In this case, you buy a standard PDU and you only add a unique power cord that is for your regional power standard. So if you need to install a rack with equipment, install this PDU. If it needs to be sent to the US, just send the US power cords. If it needs to be installed somewhere in Europe, just add a European power cord. So there is no need to replace the PDU. Just switch the power cord. Also, when you are growing from one-phase power distribution into three-phase power distribution, you start with a single-phase power cord, and if you grow and need three-phase power, you simply remove the single-phase power cord and replace it for a three-phase power cord. Okay, then I have another poll. Again, if there are questions, please do put them in the chat, and we will try to answer those questions on the end of the session.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Let's see what the poll says.
Okay, the poll says, what do you need to specify or recommend the right PDU solution? That's more a marketing question. What kind of help do you need from us to be able to give you the best solution possible? What are your pain points? What information do you need from us? What I see over here is clear overview of functions. Okay, we can do this. Better understanding of customer needs. Okay, we can also support this. Examples of use case, of course, we can also provide these, no problem. Guidance on security and scalability. Yes, we can offer this also for you. Thanks for answering the poll, by the way.
Okay, thank you. But I also see we have received quite a few interesting questions in the chat. So I think we will answering some of them.
Okay.
So one of them is, what possibilities and limitations is there in relation to data collection and management?
Oh, that's difficult to answer. I told you that we have internal memory on our PDUs, on our controller to store historical data, but it depends on the model. It depends also on how many sensors are connected. It depends also on if you are metering at the input or the outlet level. The storage capacity of our PDU is quite big, but also you have to set the time interval on our PDU. Do I want to store a measurement every second, every 3 seconds, every 10 seconds, every minute, every hour? But you could store, depending on the model, depending on the sensors, on the input or outlet level, a lot of data. And I cannot give you an exact number here because it's depending on so much variations.
And where can the data be transferred to?
Okay, this can be exported as an Excel file directly from the PDU GUI. The PDU also can send this information to a specific server on your network. And of course, this information can also be collected using a DSIM tool.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. What are the most common mistakes you see customer makes when choosing PDUs for rack?
Yeah, I already explained that still companies are investing the money on basic PDUs, which to my opinion is not the best solution. Minimum requirement is metering at the input on the input. Better even is measuring at the outlet level. And don't forget the circuit breakers. If the PDU has a circuit breaker, you should also monitor the circuit breaker. I know that there are a lot of cheap PDU manufacturers that offer input metering, outlet metering, but they don't measure the circuit breaker. So you're missing a lot of important information.
When is it time to move from a basic PDU to a solution with metering or remote switching?
Yeah, I would say do it now or do it yesterday. Don't wait too long, because in the future, I told you about the taxonomy. Maybe the taxonomy in the future will be applicable to all companies. And then you really have to report the power consumption on outlet level. So do this investment now and not wait till it really becomes a requirement. Do it now. Again, do it now.
Another question. How can the intelligent PDU monitoring help with capacity planning in practice?
In practice, it's quite simple. If you have a PDU, the PDU has a specific capacity. In the web GUI, you can also see, or on the display, on the controller, you can see how much is in use. So you can also see how much spare capacity you have for adding additional servers.
Okay. And which security features are the most important to look for in a modern PDU?
Yeah, at least it should have the latest versions of the encryption standards in the market. If the PDU has a secure element, it's even better. And our PDUs by default, they have a built-in firewall. That means that you can also block specific IP addresses or IP ranges from accessing the PDU. I think those are really needs to have things that you must have on the PDU.
And how do you work with customers when helping them choose the right PDU?
Yeah, first of all, customers need to tell me what their pain points are, and then we can look how to solve those pain points. We are available for this. We can plan a meeting on site or online, whatever is the most convenient for us, and then we can give you suggestions how to solve your pain points.
Yeah, you have a PDU right next to you now. Can you walk us through some of the other parts, some of the main parts of the
the main parts
PDU?
of the PDU, the most of them already mentioned. The input cord, input side of the PDU, the circuit breakers are sometimes required because of safety. The outlets, universal outlets, the controller. By the way, our PDU controller has a hot swappable controller. So in case of a failure, you can remove 2 screws, take out the controller, and put a new controller in it. Also, when you do this, the outlets on the PDU are not switched off. They stay in the state where they were. So was the outlet on, it stays on. And was it off, it stays off. What I see with competition, that you remove the controller, that you lose control over the outlets and all outlets will switch off. That will not happen with a Raritan PDU. Also, the screws are finger safe. That means that they cannot fall into the chassis, causing a big short circuit, big explosion in the data center. Also, you cannot touch any hot components when you remove the controller. So it's 100% safe. And there is no need to disconnect the PDU from the power when installing a new controller.
Another question, does it support a sequential startup of the connected equipment?
Yes. Outlet switched PDUs have this feature by default built in, where you can set the order on the sequence order. So it is not really required to do from 1 to 2 and 3, 4, 5. For example, you can say first outlet 1, then outlet number 24. And also you can change the time interval. So if you want to have additional delay before switching on, it can also be programmed. Let's say switch on outlet number 1, then outlet number 2, wait for 3 seconds, then outlet number 3, then wait 5 seconds for outlet number 4, etc.
All right, thank you. I think that was the question we got. So takk for at dere deltok på webinaret. Vi klarte å holde innenfor tiden også, så jeg tror vi runder av her. Gjerne ta kontakt hvis dere har noen flere spørsmål eller ønsker å diskutere noe, så gleder vi oss til å hjelpe dere. Og gjerne svar på undersøkelsen vi har etter webinaret, så vi får en liten tilbakemelding på hva som var bra eller hva som kunne blitt gjort bedre. Og så gleder jeg meg til å snakke med flere av dere videre. Takk skal dere ha. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much and goodbye.